Today is a slow day. You probably can hear the rain hitting here on the roof. I'm sitting in my truck just watching a little Candace Owens. And I was just wondering about Candace Owens. Who is her mentor? Who do she turn to for advice? And I was watching a few of her videos, and now I understand why she's so intelligent. And these people are brilliant. Check it out and tell me what you think.
I did not grow up with any political leanings outside of what was shaped for me in the school system. And that's what sort of formed my idea that because I was Black, I had to be a Democrat. Because I was Black, I had to be a liberal, and that Republicans were awful and they were racist. So I felt that way when I was leaving high school, but I actively learned that in the school system, which I talk a lot about in one chapter, because people are being actively taught, anti-Americanism, and I started to turn the bend on that as an adult. I sort of woke up one day after my grandmother died, and there was something about my grandmother's death, which happened in 2013, which inspired me to want to take more control in my life and to become a better person. And then in terms of politics, when Donald Trump came down 2 years later in 2015, and the media was instantly calling him a racist, and which is funny. I didn't support him when he first came on the escalator. I thought he was too bombastic, too loud, with just the wrong decorum for the White House. But I was shocked to see the media, as opposed to just saying he was ill-qualified, to call him a racist. He had been in the media, a known person in the media for decades. He had never faced that accusation, and they went to white supremacist, and then they went to a misogynist and a sexist. So for me, it just defied common sense. And I just thought to myself, am I being manipulated emotionally? And I felt very strongly that I was, and I just started digging and looking at perspectives that I would have normally dismissed because of my educational upbringing as race traders and Uncle Toms and coons. And I started turning to most notably Thomas Sowell, there's a lot of Thomas Sowell quotations or papers that are quoted in my book for that reason, because he changed my life. Larry Elder, who's now a mentor to me, one of the most brilliant men who I'm lucky to learn under. And these people, I had an awakening, and I went, oh my God, the truth has been there the whole time, but I've been deluded by the mainstream media and the educational agenda.
One of the things I discovered in the research for my book I'm currently working on is that leaders of groups that are lagging in countries around the world almost invariably have counterproductive policies for them. And it makes perfect sense, because insofar as members of lagging groups assimilate into the values and achievements of the larger society, they don't need those leaders. I mean, there's no mystery to me as to why Jesse Jackson says what he does, or Al Sharpton and others, because that benefits them, but it does not benefit the people they lead. I'm amazed at how little attention was paid to the fact that Al Sharpton owes the federal government millions of dollars in taxes. You don't owe millions of dollars in taxes unless you've made millions of dollars in income. And the question is, how did this man, ever get into a position to make millions of dollars other than by race hustling? Someone once asked me if I ever tried to convert some of the people like Jesse Jackson or others to my views. And I said, I'm sure Jesse Jackson makes 10 times what I make. How do you convince a man to reduce his income by 90%?
It was something I read where you talked about your people from Mount Vernon saying that, like they've done like 40 years in the penitentiary together. Mm-hmm. So, and, incarceration rates in America has been a problem, especially as opposed to minorities. And Roman delves into the issues around the legal system. Do you think we've made any headway?
I think it's more important to make headway in our own house. By the time the system comes into play, the damage is done. They're not locking up 7-year-olds.
Yeah.
I was in Chicago a couple of 3-4 weeks ago, and we saw these little kids on bikes with masks on the side of their head, like 5 or 6 of them. And the driver said, yeah, they're little yummies. I said, who? He said, little yummies. Look up, Google Little Yummy. Little Yummy was an 11-year-old murderer.
Wow.
And you look at his picture, you'll see the headshot of him, and he's like this. And he got murdered at 11 by a 14-year-old.
Wow.
Who's doing life now, and a 16-year-old.
That makes no sense.
You blame the system. Where was his father? It starts in the house. It starts in the home. And yeah, well, my father got locked up. Well, where was his father?
For black people in particular, do you think that we can truly make change as things are right now?
Well, it starts in the home. You know, if the father's not in the home, the boy will find the father in the streets. Yeah, I saw it in my generation and every generation before me and everyone since. It starts in the home. You know, if the streets raise you, then the judge becomes your mother and, you know, and prison becomes your home.
I want to just ask you, though, about the issue of race relations, because the film touches upon that. Right now, under President Obama, over the last 8 years, in your mind, have race relations improved under his leadership?
You know, race relationships have to do with race relationships. You're white or whatever you are. I'm black or whatever I am. We're standing here talking now. That's how we get things done. You can't legislate love. The President of the United States can't legislate us into liking each other. We have to step forward and ask questions about each other and engage. There's no law that says, oh, because I'm president, you all got to get along now. So it's up to us.
Ask you a couple questions. You think judicial activism, Doctor, has hurt blacks. Judicial activism of eliminating restrictive covenants in deeds, eliminating segregation in schools, one man, one vote, literacy test. Do you consider those judicially active?
Well, as regards restrictive covenants, I can see no evidence that they did anything other than make some people feel good because it was symbolic. As regards desegregation of the school system, that should have been done long before and on a much more sound basis. I've gone into this at great length in previous writings.
But are they...
No. You see, the problem is not whether you believe that school desegregation should have ended. I believe it should have ended long before. George Bork believes it should have ended long before. What he and what I have objected to are the principles used in that decision, because those principles take on a life of their own, and they come back to haunt you in other areas. Obviously, this old phrase, the hard cases make bad law, derived from that fact. You dream up a principle to reach this result, and then the principle has a life of its own.
So the principle of desegregating the schools...
No, that wasn't the principle. The principle was the reason that they picked for it.
Well, that's all I'm saying. Okay, the reasons they picked...
Yes.
Desegregating the schools, you and Judge Bork agree were the wrong principles, and they should have not... So the court shouldn't have done that.
No, the court should have done it.
Oh, okay.
Both of us have said the court should have done it.
I see.
And in my case, and I think in his case, the court should have done it a lot sooner.
How?
They should have ruled that it wasn't equal protection of the law, because nobody in his right mind believes that there was equal protection of the law in the Jim Crow era of these school systems.
I'm just trying to figure out what you're saying.
Yes.
Now, when they desegregated the D.C. schools, it's clear the 14th Amendment does not apply. Everyone agrees that the 14th Amendment does not apply to the District of Columbia. How would they have done it in the District of Columbia? Should they have just let it stand in the District of Columbia? Segregation?
No, in fact, Senator, it's interesting that you say that, because I've gotten the first thing I ever wrote on a public issue was in November 13th, 1950, in the Washington Star, in which I argued for the desegregation of the D.C. school system. So that
on what principle?
I had not studied nearly as much then as I have 37 years later, and so I hadn't worked it out. Nor do I think that I would want to work it out on the run in front of a large group of lawyers at this very moment in the time that's available.
Well, how about literacy test? Was it judicial?
I see no reason why people shouldn't be literate in order to vote. The question is, if you have a black who comes in with his degree from Harvard, and the man behind the desk says, no, you're not literate, you can't vote, then this is what bothers me. People are talking about how judges should be sensitive to this particular group or that particular group. And if that means anything, if it means he's applying the law differently, that's precisely how blacks were held down for generations in the South.
So
by
literacy
applying the law differently.
So literacy test, as long as they were equally applied, are all right.
Sure.
So I thought you thought. Now, I also want to clarify, I gather from your comments about MIT and Harvard that you don't think there's enough blacks out there who are qualified to fill the number of vacancies allotted for them in those schools. Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, the word qualified really is misleading.
Well,
The question is whether or not they are like the other students at Harvard and MIT.
Well, okay. Well, so there's not...
So they may be perfectly qualified. This same student might go through, God help us, I hope there's nobody here from Illinois, Illinois Institute of Technology and do well. But there's no reason why he should fail at MIT. There's no prestige in flunking out of the Ivy League.
I got it. So, but my point is, you believe there are not enough black women and men out there that are the same as white women and men to be able to go through Harvard and MIT.
Yeah. If there were, it would mean that the whole history of oppression had done no harm whatever.
Well, so the answer is you don't think there are. I just want to figure out what you're saying.
It's not a question what I think. It's a factual matter.
So factually, you're saying factually there are not enough.
Factually, this study's already been done by Klitgard at Harvard, and the figures are all there. Anyone can look them up.
Okay, no, I just want to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what you're thinking. Have you read all of Judge Bork's cases or any of them? Have you read all of his writings?
I haven't read all of them, but I've been reading them for more than 20 years because I used to teach antitrust economics.
Now, are you part of what they call the law and economics school? You know that. Would you consider yourself part of that school? There's nothing wrong with that. It's not a bad school. I just wanted to know where you are.
When I sit down to write, Senator, I don't ask what my label. I don't check my identification tag to see what I am. But I did. One of my books did win a prize as the best book in law and economics in 1980.
Yeah, no, but I mean, there's almost a term of art out there called the School of Law and Economics.
Yes.
And are you part of that school intellectually? That's all I'm trying to get.
I'm very much interested in the application of economic principles in the law and vice versa.
Right. Now, my time's up. Thank you very much.
Black History Month you find
ridiculous.
Why?
You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? No, well, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay, which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh, why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it. I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman.